Thank you. My name is Michael Ramos. I've had the honor of being the elected district attorney for San Bernardino County 4 terms. This is my 14th year, and prior to that, I was a trial lawyer for 14 years. I also have the honor of knowing Kermit Alexander as my friend, and his wife Tammy, and my partner, my co-chair of the Death Penalty Reform Initiative, Anne Marie Schubert, because of the passion that you've heard today. I will share one case only because it relates to why we need to reform and fix the death penalty. In my last death penalty trial as a trial lawyer, it was the murder of a young girl, Marilyn Mishak, who chronologically was 32 years of age but had the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. Her parents put her in a condominium a mile and a half from my home in Redlands, California, in a nice neighborhood. She was an ROP to try and get her some more independence so she could be self-sufficient. An individual one night at midnight busted into her home, an individual who had served prison time up in Oakland, California, for committing a residential robbery and brutally beating an elder lady who survived and identified him in court that put him in prison. After he was paroled, he went and canvassed the neighborhood, and he got into Marilyn Mishak's condominium. About midnight, brutally strangled her, stabbed her to death with her own kitchen knife, and pulled down her pants and underwear, and we believe was going to attempt to rape her, but she was so scared and distraught that she defecated. Her father found her the next morning because she didn't make it to ROP. I tell you that story because her father, through the whole process when we were seeking the death penalty, he wanted to kill himself. In fact, to the point where the court put up metal detectors for the father, not anyone else, but for the father. And I told Mr. Mishak, please let the system work. You have to trust the state of California. We will get justice for your daughter, Marilyn, with the death penalty. He never came to court, and he finally came to court on the last day of the penalty phase. He hugged me, he cried. I still see him in the community. He cries, and he thanks us. And I can't imagine going back to him and saying, the system we told you about did not get the justice that you wanted for your daughter's murder. So that's why it's such a passion for myself and my colleagues that you heard this morning as well in the afternoon. As my good friend Jackie Lacey from LA says, this initiative isn't about jumping up and down and cheering, yes, let's put these people to death. No. It's about a reform. It's about doing justice. It's about an equal protection, constitutional. I heard those questions for both sides. This individual I just talked about didn't get an attorney for almost 6 years. I mean, that's not fair to those individuals as well on death row. And to start their process, to start their proceedings. And I guarantee you, every DA that has tried a capital case ethically through the whole trial process is very careful protecting the accused rights. In my case itself, for a time, he went pro per. I helped him put on the evidence because I wanted a fair trial. I wanted the truth to be known, and that's what this reform is going to do. One of the things the public really opens their eyes about, and they can't believe it when we talk about the reform and allowing CDCR to move inmates off San Quentin into a general population where it's more modern, the security, it's not as expensive. And so some people may say, well, these people are the worst of the worst. They are. We use our discretion in seeking a small percentage of those that we put on death row. But there are also inmates, like my colleague, District Attorney Mike Kester in Riverside, prosecuted an individual for arson that killed firefighters. And he said, you know, if I get the death penalty, that's all right. I want to become friends with Scott Peterson, the person that murdered his wife and the baby, so we can play basketball together. Guess what? That's what they do. He is befriended, and they get out, and they get to go play basketball, and they're on death row. Those two should be in a general population working to pay the restitution back to the families of the victims, both Lacey Peterson and the firefighters' families and their children. The other issue, we've talked about the oversight. I'll let my colleague talk a little bit more in detail, but it's about 2.5 years ago I met with Governor Brown and I was the president of the California DA's Association. I asked him about a single drug protocol. Can we go there? And he said yes, and he talked to CDCR about it. But I was naive. I had no idea about this Administrative Procedural Act and what a wall it was going to be to get through. In that situation, you have a public hearing. You have to respond to everybody that makes a comment or a hearing, and you have to, if not orally in the hearing, you have to do it in writing. I don't believe that's in any type of proceeding. I can imagine what would happen in the Capitol if that happened here, trying to legislate. So we're just asking to remove that. People can talk about their opposition to the death penalty, and we'll never be able to change that, and I respect their position. We're just asking for a procedural change to make this fair and more efficient as we go down through the process for victims' rights. And I guess that's what I want to end it with is we have respectfully tried to fix this and reform this in this building, and for many reasons it wasn't done. So now we have an opportunity with 2 initiatives to let the voters decide, and that's really what we want to do at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.